face the death. Look him in the eye. You can't turn back once you come this far into the darkness.
So what we do here on Into the Darkness most of the time is kind of go through, your history, which we just talked about off air is quite the history, 30 years or so. So why don't we just get started there? Most people that know you obviously know that you're kind of always been that main songwriter, if not singular songwriter, even back in the day. And so I guess if we look back on those demos, the Rest in Pain and kind of leading up to Penetralia, were you already starting to get into recording then? Were you doing that as well, or?
I was mainly trying to get my ideas down on tape.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was not a producer at that time. I was just trying to get my ideas on tape and try to get a record deal.
Right.
All by myself, since one of these demos is just only me on it. And the second demo, we took away my vocals and put on Massa, the singer who was singing on the two first albums,
right,
so to say, because I felt that I sucked on singing death metal. So it was too new for me to understand. Okay. I guess I know what I wanted, but I couldn't do it. So that's why I had to find someone else to sing.
Understood.
And I actually this demo that you hear, there's two different demos in there. I guess one with my vocals and one with Massa's vocals. But it was supposed to be LG from Entombed to sing on one of the demos because he was supposed to be the singer in Hypocrisy. But unfortunately, he was coming for the weekend. But on Wednesday, he calls and said, like, hey, sorry, man, I'm back with Entombed.
Oh, wow. Crazy.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck.
Well, it worked out. It worked out anyway for both of you guys. But
yeah, I guess. Well, yeah, now, God bless him. He's not with us anymore, unfortunately. So
we lost a lot of good ones lately. It sucks.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, it really sucks.
Well, you actually answered my next question, which was going to be, why didn't you just sing? But now we have that answer. So I guess just moving along, getting signed, what was that experience like for you back then? Just actually getting the contract and, just the excitement of being young and getting your first deal and going to the studio for the first time and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like, wow, this is a new world. But, little that I thought, I guess I had fantasies about something else that it wasn't really, it was just like, it was not as glamorous as I thought it was going to be to have a record company and a deal and an album out and blah, 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 It
Sure.
took a little bit more than that, and it took you a while to understand that. So for me, even up till today, it's just a learning process of everything. Anything from business to recording to write music to perform and so on. It's always a learning process. You only can get better. If you get worse, then maybe it's time to throw in the towel. I don't know.
Right, you lost the passion or something, yeah.
Yeah, or you're just not cut out for it.
Right.
You never know until you've been doing it for a while.
That's true. That's true. So is there anything notable with Penetralia, or we'll even include, just to kind of get through it a little faster, Osculum? Between the two of those, are there any interesting stories there, that you remember from those times?
Yeah, I remember Lars, our drummer, he didn't know how to play double bass at the time. He was actually my old drummer in a band before I went to America that we had in, I don't know, 84 to 87 or something like that. So I brought him in when it was time to do the album, but then I realized he can't play double bass. So I pretty much played drums on almost all of the songs on Penetralia myself.
Oh, wow.
It was just, that's how it was, and you just had to fix it. So when the second album came around, we already played a lot together and stuff like that. And then it was no problem for Lars to do it, So, which was good because I was not a death metal drummer from the beginning. I was more like a thrash metal drummer from the beginning.
Okay.
And I only took the guitar because I wanted to write music, and the people I was playing with at the time, they didn't understand what I meant. So I always had a acoustic guitar beside me of the drum set, like on the side. So Okay, stop. I put down my sticks and took out the acoustic guitar. No, play like this. And then I put it back again. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how you did it, And when I came back from America, being in America for 3 years, I just met up with my friend. I found out he had a 16-track recording studio. So I was like, shit, I need to go home and get all my ideas out. So... yeah, and where I live, it's not like a big city, Stockholm or Gothenburg or anything, where you can call someone who is a good drummer or a good bass player or whatever. I had to do everything myself in the beginning. So
right.
And then afterwards, pulling people around the area where I lived. So a little bit like that. Also, from 5-piece to 3-piece. You realize, you can't pull in people unless you know them.
Right.
You have to understand personalities and things like that, So that's why a lot of things changed. And also when I took over the vocals, I did pretty much all the vocals on the first album. Second album, Massa was doing the vocals. And then we went out on tour with Fear Factory and Cannibal Corpse and Desultory.
Oh, wow.
And after 4 gigs, our singer said, I need to go home to my doctor. I have a problem with my ear and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, holy shit, we have a fucking trailer full with tour shirts. And we were just saying, what the fuck should we do now? So at that point, I was really happy that I wrote lyrics for most of the songs on the first album and actually try to sing them. So we went out on stage, not practicing or anything, and I tried to do what he did before.
Wow.
And the first couple of gigs was not pretty, I tell you that. And so the next 5 weeks, I was practicing to become a singer, I guess. Wow. So when we got home, I got enough confidence to bring out Osculum Obscenum album, and I muted his vocals, and I tried to put on my vocals. And that's how we did this mini album, Inferior Devotees.
Yeah, I was going to ask
see
you about
if I could actually sing or not.
Wow.
And after we were done with that, I was like, yeah, it might work, And then from there on, it's still just learning process.
Sure. Crazy. Yeah. And I don't know if everyone knows, but Massa was, Caligula in Dark Funeral? Was that right?
Yeah, he became Caligula in Dark Funeral.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That Inferior Devotees, if we go back to that, a lot of people love that EP, and it was kind of the last stand as far as like the old regime. I'll say, the kind of the more just straightforward death metal, and obviously people love the cover on there too. But I want to say 2 songs were on a Japanese. 2 songs were bonus on a Japanese release of Osculum, I think. Right? Were there 2 from that? But then there was like 1 or 2 completely new songs.
I don't know what they put on the Japanese shit.
Okay.
My memory is not that well.
Sure.
But on the mini album, first of all, we did Inferior Devotees. That was from Osculum Obscenum, of course, but with my vocals. And then we wrote 2 more songs, I think, while I was in the studio. And then we did, of course, Black Magic with Slayer.
Right. Yeah, people love that cover.
Yeah. And that was just a try for me to see if it works. And it was also to wait a little bit for a response to hear what people thought of it. It could have been, and it could have ended right there, to be honest.
Well, you went down to a 3-piece. Is that kind of the turning point then, right?
Yeah. And then the next step. Okay, what was the next step? Oh, I found a keyboard in the studio, so I started plinking with that, and that's how Fourth Dimension came out. With all this different kind of elements. I mean, on Osculum, we have one song that's really heavy, though, but it's in a different way. I guess the Fourth Dimension album, the songs that are very slow and things that they're more, I don't know, epic kind of feeling to it.
Right.
It's more doomy and things. So it was just a learning process there as well. What are we writing? What do I want to do? You never thought about these things. You just wrote whatever came into your mind, and this keyboard kind of helped to slow things down a little bit and think a little bit in a different ways with harmonies on guitars and shit like that.
Right.
But still, you have songs like Reborn easily fit on Penetralia or Osculum Obscenum.
Yep.
So it was kind of mixed album with a very shitty production. It was the first and only time we went to another studio. So
who did that? Who did that record? Without me looking, who did that one?
I don't know. Some engineer in some flashy studio in Stockholm, and I guess he didn't understand what we were looking at.
Sure.
So I actually, at the time when we were in Stockholm, I actually bought the studio from my friend that we did the 2 first albums, and that became Abyss Studio. Okay. So I started recording right away after that because I was kind of bummed out how it turned out with the mixing and all that shit, of Fourth Dimension. So
sure. And can I just say you're like the best interviewee because you answer questions before I even ask them. It's like where we're going, and I just got to sit back and shut my mouth. So just like your pain song, shut your mouth.
Maybe it's the wine talking. I don't know. It's Friday night in Sweden right now. So
cheers. Yes.
No, but I mean, to make think accurate in my point of view, it's easier to take it from the beginning to the end.
Well, yeah, I agree. And this is kind of what we do. And, it kind of answers a lot of questions other people might have had that haven't heard the story, or new fans that aren't my age, in their 40s, that are younger coming in and not knowing the history. So this is great for everybody. Fourth Dimension was such a, kind of bold step in a lot of ways, like you mentioned, musically, but also the cover. Obviously, you got rid of the death metal logo. It was kind of I feel like that was a thing in the 90s, though. Like Napalm did it. There was a lot of bands that did it. Was there a thought around that artwork at the time that was just like, we just want to get away from this and do something on our own?
I tell you, I mean, in those days, I thought everything was going to shit. To be honest, I mean, the cover, look at it, holy shit. And look at the logo, and it was just a disaster. And the sound of the album, I was like, this is going to be our grave album, we're going to be done after this. But people didn't care about that shit. They saw something else. They heard the songs. They didn't care if it sounded like shit. They didn't care about the cover. They didn't care about the logo and all that stuff. They saw it for what it actually was, the music, and I'm really happy for that, because at the time it was like, oh my God, this career is going to hell right now.
Well, I will say it's definitely a different one, and it's a special one. And it's funny, so I have 2 other friends that, to be honest, we're like super Hypocrisy fans. Like my whole life, it's been one of my favorite death metal bands. And I have 2 other friends. One actually has a Hypocrisy cross on his leg he tattooed, and cool, that's why I didn't get it. I was like, fuck it, I'm not following what you just did. You already did. But so I actually talked to him before this interview, and we always kind of argue back and forth about stuff. But that one's special for all of us, I think, because it was such a, you're kind of starting to put your foot into uncharted territory, and you weren't afraid to do it. So it shows, and it was cool. It's just different,
It was kind of funny because when we sent the master over to Nuclear Blast afterwards, I thought we were going to be fired, and they called up. It was like, wow, what an album. Holy shit, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you serious? I was like, okay.
Sure.
But, now I see it more like listen to the songs instead.
Exactly.
Of whatever's around it. And it's actually a decent album for sure.
It's a very cool one for sure. Yeah. Now, we're kind of going to take a sidestep, because around that time, I believe the first Abyss kind of came into fruition here, and obviously it's the same lineup as Hypocrisy. So what was did you guys feel a need, or obviously you're a creative guy, you're always writing and creating, and maybe you started writing stuff that wasn't fit for Hypocrisy. What was the motivation behind the Abyss?
The motivation was a couple of things, actually. First of all, I needed a band to practice recording on my new studio. And you can definitely tell it sounds like hell, but the first album has its charm for sure. But I prefer the Summoning of the Beast, the second one.
I love that one. Yeah.
The first one was really to check how to record, but also we had we're huge black metal fans. We've been since '81 when Venom came out with Welcome to Hell,
Sure.
But we didn't really want to change Hypocrisy. So we wanted to make a secret album with not our names on it or anything like that. But the problem was Nuclear Blast couldn't shut up, so they put our names on there on their ads, and fucking, yeah, the idea was gone. So when we did the second one, then we said, okay, now we really have to, shape up and shit, because now people know who we are.
Yeah.
So we kind of overdo it. It was just like a fucking massacre for 35, 40 minutes. It's just fast songs that I was beating the shit out of the drums like a motherfucker. And since I haven't played since Penetralia album, and then, like 4 or 5 years later, sit and play blast beat for 4 minutes per song is like, oh my God.
Right.
But I did it,
Right.
And I have to give Michael and Lars a lot of credit for these 2 albums, because they came up mainly with most of the riffs on there. I was
cool.
seeing myself as a drummer and a bass player on those 2 albums, and these 2 guys were the main writers on this.
Yeah, that's a cool dynamic. That's cool. We got to flip the script a little bit there. Nice.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was really great. But I mean, back in the days, Lars was writing songs, Michael were writing songs, I was writing songs, and that kind of made Hypocrisy sound what it is today.
Okay. Cool. I thought it was more you.
Yeah, I can tell when Michael wrote something or Lars writes something or I did, because we have very different styles from each other.
Yeah. I'll have to actually go back and start picking through and seeing if I can't start picking them out. I don't typically look at songwriting credits, but it'll be a fun thing to do and go back and hear what you're hearing. Well, next up obviously is a big one. So Abducted was, I don't know if it's still the most popular record, or maybe I don't know, but it obviously started a completely new era for you. I feel like that's the one that kicked it off, and look at where you are today. But it's a monumental record. Obviously, Roswell 47. If you were going to say you had a hit single, I would say that's the one. And how do you
top 40 single?
There you go. There's your top 40. I'll take it. And that was filmed in your studio, right?
Yeah.
The video, I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, in the old studio. And I mean, this album wasn't easy made. We recorded it in 95, I think. Listened to it, threw it in the band. The production was not good enough, what I had in mind. I didn't have the gears to make a good album, a good production, but, there's always ways to do it. So we threw away a few songs from the first session because some songs was not up to the quality of the other songs. And then we recorded it one more time, threw away more songs, and the production was not good enough. And then the third time, third's the charm, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's when we felt like, okay, the production is there, the songs are there, let's release it. The only thing I was like really concerned about was these 2 last songs, the slow ones, because that was actually the beginning of my Pain project.
Yeah, they're so different. They stand out.
Yeah,
I always liked them.
Yeah. Yeah, but when it came out, people flipped out. What kind of death metal is this?
It's
man?
your Fade to Black, yeah.
Yeah, no. The point was, I was writing that on the side. We're all big Pink Floyd fans and shit. And I wanted to write songs like that, so I tried and I put it on the side. It was never meant to be on a Hypocrisy album. And Michael and Lars are also big Pink Floyd fans. Michael is the biggest Pink Floyd fan, by the way. And they say, hey, let's put it on. Let's be bold and go crazy. I'm like, they're going to fucking lynch us for this. And just do it. So we were all convinced and like, okay, let's do it. It's might going to hurt, but let's try it. We did it. We had a lot of both people loved it and people hated it and so on and so on,
Yeah.
But I guess we did it. We were brave enough. I think Michael and Lars was the bravest one, because I really didn't feel it was a good thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a bold move. Yeah, definitely bold for the time, for sure.
Yeah. And those days it was very, picky. Not many people were very narrow-minded when it comes. Either you like black metal, death metal, or thrash metal, or all these things. If you start mixing things up, no good.
Right. Well, that really hasn't changed. I think maybe the new generation that's changed, but like all the guys that we know from that time are kind of still that way. But it is what it is, and it's kind of fun because at this point we can just laugh and kind of make fun of each other or whatever. But Yeah, so that obviously landmark record. So with that record and the success that came, was it? Was that a big thing for you guys? Was it like noticeable? Like, holy shit! Like people are really gravitating towards this album.
Not really, because I was still busy in the studio recording other bands, so we couldn't really go out and meet the fans. So there was no internet at that time, and we had no clue if it was success or not. You know, we could see on some reviews it was a 3 out of 5 or 2.5 or 3.5. It was like, okay, so we did a mediocre album, you know, and then we just kept on going.
Wow, that's crazy to hear that now, you know, after all these years.
Yeah.
But would you say that that's your most recognized album to date?
Nah, to be honest, I really don't know which album sold most, which one is the most favorite album of people, because I think a lot of people like Abducted, yeah, for sure. They also like the self-titled album a lot, but they also like the 2 first album. It depends who you ask.
Sure.
And also a lot of people like Virus. Also a lot of people like End of Disclosure. I don't know what people like, to be honest. I have no freaking clue. And maybe that's good, because for the next album and the next album, I don't want to be influenced by, oh, that was good, you have to write like that or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I just happy that people enjoy the songs. And for me, it's just to, nowadays, we have our style. We had it since 10 years of going into it. Up to the self-titled album, I think we really had our momentum that says, this sounds like Hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had to do something crazy in 2002, because I was hating life and I hated people and I hated everything. So we did Catch-22.
Yeah.
Which is more punky, and I tell all the fucking journalists to fuck off, basically.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that for sure, because that for me was an interesting one. But getting back to kind of our timeline, so we can keep moving along. After Abducted, there was another little side project kind of that went in with your boys from Abruptum and some other guys. But War. So what was the impetus for the War EP or War record?
Oh God, I don't know. For me to ventilate on drums, I had no clue. We were sitting and drinking, like, yeah, we should put a band together. I was like, okay, whatever, as long as I can play drums, because I didn't play drums anymore, and I'm a drummer from the beginning. I played since I was 9 years old till I was 18, and then I just stopped, you know, because I was busy writing music instead. So I said, like, okay, let's do this thing, you know. We're all into primitive black metal, you know. Always loved Hellhammer stuff, Celtic Frost, all these primitive stuff, you know, that I was a huge fan of. So when we did that, I have no clue what we were playing or we're doing. I was just going, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I start going, and then, you know, eventually it turned out to be what it was. And, you know, some lyrics are fucking retarded. I wish I could have heard it while we were doing it, because I would have censored a lot of shit, you know, but
right.
It is what it is now, you know, and you can't undo it.
Sure.
So
it's a moment in time.
I didn't write the lyrics. I didn't sing on it. I didn't play guitar on it. I played drums. Right. So I'm probably gonna always hear about this, and it makes me uncomfortable as well.
Well, yeah, I can see that. But you're exonerated, you know, obviously you kind of said your side there. But as far as the music goes, which is what I want to focus on, it's you know, kind of this cult classic now, which is a cool thing. I remember hearing it and being blown away at the time, and you know, I'm of the age when I was kind of I was pretty young when the second wave came on, but you know, this fit kind of right in where I was discovering Marduk and all these bands, and I love that EP for what it is. Yeah,
but I mean, you know, a song like Elite, I was like, what the fuck, man? And the funny thing is, like, but it's about, we're above everybody. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or if you're Jewish or if you're a devil worshiper or whatever. I'm like, okay. You know, today I would say, fuck that.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
But whatever.
Sure. Well, it's almost that pompous black metal attitude, I guess, of the time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we get to the final chapter, and this was supposed to be the final chapter. So what happened?
Yeah. I just had enough, pulling the wagon by yourself. It's always kind of boring and also very exhausting, but what I learned over the years is like, not everybody is as intensive as I am with the ADHD kind of thing,
Okay.
And you just have to accept it. But at that time, I was just like, you guys not fucking helping me with this or that or blah, blah, blah. I write the most shit. And I just said, fuck this. This is the last fucking album. I had it.
Wow.
And I said that before the album was even out. But yeah, because I played drums on half of that album as well.
Wow.
There was some parts that Lars played, the guitar riffs that he wrote, and I played drums. So, it was just a weird time, and I should have been more patient, and understand that not everybody thinks like I think.
Right.
To put it in a nice way. So
when you look back on
I just had enough, and we just got a new A&R at the Nuclear Blast, and he kind of convinced me to let's keep on moving,
Yeah.
Don't overdo it, do it as a hobby and blah, blah, blah. So I said, okay, fine.
All right. Well, looking back on that album then now, can you listen to it? Does it bring up negative stuff? Are you not thrilled with it because of the way you were feeling at the time? It's not your best, or how do you feel about it now?
No, I think there's good songs, good production for being at that time with the tools you had at that time.
For sure.
I think it has to also, like we had from Fourth Dimension, you have slow songs, you have mid-tempo songs, you have fast songs.
Yeah.
And that's really how I understood that Hypocrisy should be.
Yeah, I think it was a good summation. I'm glad that wasn't the final one, because the next one is a real big one for me. But I really enjoyed the final chapter as a fan, so I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it as well.
Thank you, man.
Well, so you kind of told the story about, I guess, the motivation to continue on. So if we move to 1999 now, which was actually the year I graduated high school, so showing my age. But this album to me, and I know, well, I've heard from other people, I thought everyone loved this album. I guess some people are on the fence about it. I didn't know that. I thought everyone loved it. But I guess it's more melancholy, as a whole, more epic and grandiose as a whole. But to me, this has a special place in your discography. It's definitely one of my top ones, my favorites as a fan. And, I think you just really knocked it out of the park, if I guess there was to be a rejuvenation. And so wasn't it originally supposed to be called Cloned or something like that?
I can't remember, to be honest. Yeah, it rings a bell, but I'm not sure if it was going to be called that or not. Could be. It like I said, it rings a bell, but I can't tell you 100%. This one, actually, we came together a little bit more as a band, as a writing team, I would say, again. And you have the Fractured Millennium.
Yep.
Which is also a top 40 song.
Yes, for sure.
No, people want us to play that song.
I would say those first
a lot of people
tracks.
like it.
Yeah.
But there's other cool songs as well. Like I think Until the End is on there. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different types of song on there that sticks out, I think, as well.
Well, I think this, there may be another one or two, but it's funny, because I was a fan during the very more, I guess, primitive death metal days of the first two albums. I always call this the alien era of Hypocrisy. I think it started with Fourth Dimension, but that's how I refer to it with friends. We call it the alien era. And this to me was almost the peak, where you just kind of found this beautiful harmony between everything that you did, and, doing more of the higher pitched vocal, than the low vocal all the time. And, you just really hit something unique there, and I think it really stood out as you've discovered yourself, and this is Hypocrisy, take it or leave it kind of thing,
Yeah, the funny thing was I think when we were done with this album and it was a few months old or something like that, when you start thinking about the next step, we were just listening to it and it's damn, we got commercialized. Fuck this shit. So we did Into the Abyss, starting with the Legion Descent. You know, it was just pure fucking hate.
Super heavy.
Yeah, so we kind of woke ourselves up and said like we lost our
like the edge.
Yeah, our death metal roots, kind of. So we went back and did a very brutal album, I would say, after that.
For sure. Know? But I feel like you just said it, but I feel like you've done that a couple of times in your career, where you maybe went too far one way, then you overcompensated the other, you know, the next album, and then you find balance, you know. But I think that's the cool part about a Hypocrisy discography is like, and say that a couple of times fast, Hypocrisy discography, tongue twister. But yeah, I think that's what's so cool is like, Hypocrisy obviously has its very unique sound. Like you said, the epic moments, the super heavy, brutal moments, the death metal moments, whatever. And you have that in every album pretty much. But some lean one way heavier than the other, and it makes it, you know, more interesting as you go down the line. So after Into the Abyss, let's go. Let's cover, you know, the favorite, Catch 22. I listened to it because I had never listened to the 2008 version where you kind of re-recorded some vocals and remixed it. So I started trying to A/B it just in my car. I didn't put it next to each other on any DAW or anything. But so I was listening back and forth and did it on my headphones a little bit. And I noticed, you know, obviously a lot drier production and stripped down on the original. Obviously clean vocals. And I did notice you experimented a lot on the vocal portion of the first time around. I definitely heard some effects that were different. Just your whole approach was so different. But like you said, maybe it was just a middle finger to everybody at the time. It was
a revolt against, you know, people who thought they knew more about me than I knew about myself. So, and therefore the lyrics are what they are, you know. I was just really pissed, and I would say this is our punk album, kind of, you know, like fuck everybody, fuck everything, fuck the system, and fuck you. Pretty much, in a nice way.
Sure.
Kind of. I was pretty fed up, just as I was fed up in Final Chapter, but for different kind of reasons, of course.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people were like freaking out, and I was like, well, if you don't like it, then suck my balls. You know, I didn't give a shit, to be honest. I was just going nuts in my private life, in the professional life, and so on. You know,
You're pissed off.
I don't know what I was. I was just fed up with everything. I didn't want to be a musician anymore. I didn't want to fucking be around people. I didn't want to do nothing. And, you know, you go in these dips sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, therefore the lyrics became what they were. And it was a kind of honest statement, I would say, you know, with a little twist on it.
Well, hearing that from you, it actually brings things full, you know, clear. It makes things clear to me. At the time, you know, you're hoping for this new Hypocrisy. It's going to rip your head off. And you know, it's funny because, and tell me why, if this is why you did it or not, but a lot of those songs were still very much Hypocrisy in the riffs and ideas. Yeah. But the vocals maybe threw people off, or, you know, your little effect at the beginning of Turn the Page on the guitar, maybe people are like, ugh, you know, like, what is he doing here? But when you hear the revision where you kind of threw all away the vocals and do your death metal thing, and it's like, man, it sounds like a Hypocrisy record again. It really, you know, was almost just a different approach. So is that why you did it? Just to show people, hey guys, stop bitching, like, this is what it is, but here, if you want it like this, here it is.
No, it was mainly for the fans who didn't like it. Yeah. I could care less about reporters and reviews and shit. It was mainly for the fans. Okay, you didn't like it. Okay, I know you want our back catalog perfect like this, you know, and there's one sticking out. So I helped them make it an even Steven booklet. Yeah. Booklet. Sorry, you know what I mean.
Timeline.
Discovery.
Yeah. Sure.
And Yeah, and also I guess Lars Ulrich stole my snare from 2002 on the Sankt Janger, and he just trimmed it up even more.
I was going to say something about that.
There was just a lot of different things. Why stick with the same shit all the time? That was another thing for me. Let's do something different.
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna say that to you, producer. I was gonna say they Saint angered before Saint Anger. It almost sounds like it. Actually, I call it the Slipknot record. It was around that time. They were obviously blowing the hell up, and it reminded me of Joey's signature snare sound, that super metal tinny sound, and some of the riffage kind of reminded me of this hard kind of 4 on the floor bass drum, and just super intense and in your face. And a lot of people in the extreme metal world don't like Slipknot and whatever, but that's fine.
Yeah,
I have my own ideas about it, but they did kind of bridge the gap between what had been happening and I guess what you call new metal, and kind of bridging the gap with extreme metal, which that had not happened before. So it was kind of at the time it was very fresh. So I can see you throwing the middle finger up and just wanting to do your own thing. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, lyrics like "Don't judge me" and things like that. It was just it was what it was at that time. And I think all these bands that's been going on for 30 years or 40 years or whatever, we all need this revolt against everything. Listen to Metallica, the Load album. What the hell is that? But that's what they felt was important at the time, so they needed to ventilate that.
Sure.
If you listen to Slayer, when they start tuning down and becoming a little bit more new metal-ish kind of thing on Diabolical, I think it was, or what one of these
Diabolus and Musica,
yeah. So I mean, I think it's a natural progress that bands needs to revolt against themselves, against everything else, and also just try new things to come back and do what you were supposed to do 1,000 times better after that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear, and I think it definitely, hopefully it solved, or not solved. Hopefully it gave you what you needed out of it, and hopefully it was that therapy for you, because obviously after that, you kind of stepped right back into this focus of what Hypocrisy was always been good at, with the Arrival
album. It was mainly, going back to from doing Into the Abyss and Fourth Dimension, and Catch-22, which are a little bit more in your face, both of the albums, both production-wise and also song-wise. Even though you have a song like Fire in the Sky, which is also one of the top 40 stuff
it's that awesome song.
The fans demand. So it was time to go back to what we do best and what we are all about, and that became the Arrival.
Yep. Eraser is a big one on there too, I think.
That's also another top 40, I guess. If we don't play that, we're doomed.
Right. Hypocrisy
Shit
top
will
40
fucking
hits.
start to rain on stage if we walk off stage before we play that.
That's awesome. We got to have those. Got to have the fan favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then I want to move to the next one, not to discredit the Arrival. For me, there were definitely it was nice to see the return, like you said, as a super fan. But to me, Virus was kind of like level up time, and maybe that was Hork coming into it. How do you pronounce his real name? Is it just Ryder?
Radar.
Radar. Okay.
Yeah. Almost like a radar where you spot shit on.
Right. Okay.
The thing was when we felt like Lars was not holding up to his things, and you have to write songs to adapt to drumming.
Sure.
Then you know you have a problem.
Yep.
If you want to develop as a band, and I'm always a guy who wants to move forward. Mm-hmm. I don't want to stand in one place and not develop. And so we decided all together, okay, time to move on. So when I knew that Horg was in the band, I got so inspired, so I wrote Warpath right away.
So intense.
Yeah, because I knew, okay, now I have a drummer that can play these things.
Right.
So let's write some shit.
Yep.
that's in that vein. And also to have Andreas in the band, who's a very talented musician. He's actually a bass player, but he put on his guitar, and we've been friends for a long time. Michael and him played in the band before Michael joined Hypocrisy. So we're all from the same area, and he's a hell of a musician, put it that way. And that also bloomed a lot on the album. He had a few songs that he was involved in, and the whole thing became a different band when you have a different kind of artillery, that you can show. That means also you have to step up as a musician. I have problems because I'm just a music writer. I'm not a guitarist or anything like that. What you hear is what I can perform. That's it. No more nor less. So I had to step up with a lot of stuff as well. So that was really cool to do this thing. And I think there's a lot of great songs on that album.
I think it's my favorite for being a fan as long as I've been. And obviously there's some albums that mean more to me than others, like the self-titled and stuff. But this to me was like the pinnacle of what Hypocrisy could achieve. And you said it, but and I feel bad saying it because I guess it just is what it is. But I always felt like I always wondered, was Lars the one holding them back? Because you never really heard all the fast double bass, and I was like, is he the guy that's really like keeping them at this mid pace all the time, or like because even the heavy stuff wasn't always super fast. And so when Horg came into the picture, I was super excited to hear what was going to happen because I kind of heard the news and saw what was coming. I was like, man, this is going to be out of control, and it was, like you said, like it was like rip off the chains and you're free to write however you wanted to write. But
a lot of respect to Lars, though. He wrote a lot of cool fucking riffs in the songs we did before that. He was more like a riff master than he was a drummer, and I was more a drummer than I was a riff master. So it was kind of, we were feeding off each other all the time, but one day you have to go live and you have to do these things. So we couldn't make, songs that we couldn't play live, kind of.
Right.
But now we could with the Virus and with that lineup, and that's what we did.
And did that relationship just come from, obviously you worked with Immortal on, 5 records, something like that, or 5 releases at least? So is it just from that relationship, you just call them up one day, or is it, how did that even come to be?
Yeah, and also he was actually drummer for Pain.
Oh, that's right.
When Immortal broke up, I brought him in to play drums with Pain.
Yes.
Because I knew he was like a machine, and I needed like a programmed guy playing drums. It should be like AC/DC kind of shit, and nothing more, nothing less. Mm-hmm. And that's really, and plus I recorded him many times, so I knew what he could do and not. So it was a very easy choice at that time.
That's perfect. I think it was a perfect choice for you guys. Definitely is a monumental album in your discography. I think a definite turning of the page. We'll use a Catch-22 reference. Yeah. All right. So here's another. So maybe this isn't the same because we talked about self-titled to Into the Abyss, but Virus was super heavy, and it still had all of the what I'd like to consider the Alien era elements of being grandiose and having these giant choruses and melodies and harmonies. But it looks like on A Taste of Extremity, you kind of went back to more stripped down, brutal, in your face, where there are still some hypocrisy balance there, of course. It seemed like you went back to an Into the Abyss type mentality, from an outsider perspective.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit. When you do something, then you want to do something else. Mm-hmm. If you do one thing, then you want to do another thing. And that's really what we've been, let's say, balancing over the 30 years. Right. Which is maybe not good for the fans because you really don't know what the hell you're going to expect for the next album and the next album. And I apologize for that, but sometimes you have to write what you believe in, and even if it's going to be less successful or whatever, you still have to ventilate. But A Taste of Extreme Divinity, there's a lot of people who likes that album because it's it's more back to osculum or penetralia kind of feeling.
Exactly. Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, then we just got to skip ahead. What 4 more years or so, 4 or 5 more years to End of Disclosure, and I thought, I mean, that's just a really well-written record from front to back. I think, being so late in your discography, the elitist as a fan, you want to go to only the first 2 albums are the best, fuck everything, but I never felt that way with you guys. I'll go back to, again, saying Self-Titled, Virus, those 2 stand out for me, and then this one actually really stands out for me. I thought you took, I guess, everything before, and especially kind of what I heard on Virus, and just really expanded again on that balance. I think it's a amazingly balanced album, and the artwork, you gotta love Wes. Wes
Wes is the man.
So good.
Yeah. The thing with End of Disclosure is pretty much only me on this album, unfortunately. Wow. Horg came in for 4 days, put his drums on, and that's about it.
Wow.
Otherwise, it's just me on this album writing music, except the return is actually Lars, our old drummer, who wrote that song.
Oh.
And it was pretty fun. He came in one day in the studio and was sitting and talking old memories and stuff like that. And I said, hey, why don't you write a song for the next Hypocrisy album? And he said, well, okay. And he started to, he's, like I said, he has, that's a typical his way of writing music. The melodies are weird, but it fits, and it's not by the book. That's what I like about Lars.
Cool.
When he writes things. So he did that song, and also Soldier of Fortune was actually the first time me and my son wrote a song together. He was 14.
Oh, wow.
So he did half of that song, and I did the other half.
Amazing.
Yeah, so other than that, it was pretty much me in the studio all the time.
Well, you did a hell of a job on that, because would have fooled me. I like I said, Virus to me was kind of that pinnacle, and this sits right next to it, in my opinion. I mean, it's right up there. It's super strong. The production was strong. And that's something that we didn't even touch on your production side. We probably don't even have time for that today. But, I think, you've been saying it all interview, and I think it speaks to you as a man and a person that you can tell by not only the writing of Hypocrisy, but on the production side, that you're never satisfied. You always want to get better, and I feel like you've consistently done that, because End of Disclosure was kind of, I think, the best sounding record up until that point, until we get to Worship, which I think hands down is the best production I've heard on a Hypocrisy record ever.
Thank you. Yeah, End of Disclosure has a little bit too squeaky guitars for me. I don't know why I always end up with very high-pitched sound on guitars. Maybe it's my monitors, but you always change monitors like you change underwear, so you never really know where you are.
Right.
But I think the songs and everything on there, there's a few thrash songs there to get back to really what I'm about. Like old thrash metal shit. That's what I grew up on.
Sure.
Like The Eye. There's a lot of picking and shit like that. So. Most of the songs are hypocrisy songs, I would say.
100%.
Maybe not so flowing and epic stuff on that album as it is on some of the other albums, but
sure.
I think there's some good ones on there, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it kind of brings us, 8 years later to the current record, Worship.
Exactly. What happened?
Well, and I already said, man, this is, I think, hands down the best production. So, hats off to you on that one.
It's got the balls.
Dude, it's got...
sure.
Well, and I think you're right. I think even looking back on your productions from, Dimmu and Throne, and I feel like you became known for those, cutting guitars. It's almost like you took the HM2 sound and how aggressive and cutting that those frequencies are, and you gave it clarity, and you kind of created your own unique tone kind of that carried through a lot of these albums. Always a little different, but, you know, kind of signature Abyss Studio. And it's funny that you mentioned it on End of Disclosure being sometimes maybe a little thin or squeaky, I think you use. But to me, I think maybe that was just you trying to balance, because you always wanted the bass to shine through. You know, I think a lot of people have too much low end in their guitar where they're now losing, you know, that bass signal and that bass, or at least separation, right? That wideness and that separation. I think you achieved it across the board from the drums, the bass. Actually, I wrote a note to myself on, what is it, Brotherhood of the Serpent, I think, is the beginning, kind of opens up with just guitar and bass, I believe. And the separation there, I think that song is like a lesson to people in metal production. It's like, look, you can hear the bass separate from the guitar. This is what it should sound like. It's heavy, it's ballsy, it's amazing. So, yeah.
That's really how I started to be involved in productions, because in the 80s and early 90s, you could never hear the bass, except on the stop on Alter a Man as, what's the song? This distorted thing that comes, what's the song called? On Morbid Angel, Alter a Man. It's when it stops and it goes with the distorted bass. That's probably the only time you hear a bass on any album.
I think a Cannibal Corpse fucked with a knife, you know, or whatever, you know, that break.
Oh yeah, Hammer Smash Bass. Yeah,
that bass, too.
But you don't really hear it in the mix.
Sure.
That's my problem.
Right.
You know, on Legion, on Deicide, you can actually hear the piano in there. Mm-hmm. You know, I really like that bass sound, but I wish it would be more bottom in it though.
Yeah.
But I really like that sound, and I also, of course, I love Alex's bass sound. You know, we did tours together, and the sound he has live, I wish he could have it on the albums as well. You know,
there's a lot of bands that we could say that about. They never really achieved exactly, you know, how they sound in a live situation.
Yeah.
Well,
and that was my goal in the beginning as a producer. I wanted to help the death metal community to hear the bass kind of thing, you know. And I wasn't doing such a good job anyhow, but it took me a lot of albums to really get the bass coming through.
Yeah. And
that's why I started forcing bands in the 90s to use 5-string bass, you know, even if they didn't tune down or anything, just to get the more low ends in the whole things. Like Dimmu Borgir, I gave him a 5-strings. They were like, what the fuck is this? We're not used to this. We're used to standard tuning. And same with Immortal. I told him, hey, let's put a 5-string on there. We can get a lot of fucking boom in there without, you know, destroying the production. And there was a lot of bands I forced to use the B string on the bass.
Okay.
In the 90s.
Wow. Yeah, it's
not
crazy.
Forced, but you know, come up with the idea so they feel comfortable with it as well. It's not like I wasn't forcing them by per se, you know.
Right. Okay, well, let's go through these songs then. So, you know, I listened to the whole record actually this morning preparing for all this, and so it's very, very fresh. We can kind of take it step by step like we did with the discography, but I think Worship kicks off really, really perfect, really. You know, it has that epic intro, and then you get to it, and the rest of it kind of blazes through. So I think it's a good, like, hello, we're back, you know, moment.
Yeah, I mean, this song may not be the strongest song on the album, but it has a certain atmosphere, I would say.
Yep.
You know, anything from the beginning is a little bit like a Metallica Battery.
I was thinking
kind
like
of feeling.
Well, Battery, yeah. I was like, this kind of like these harmonies happening. I thought the exact same thing. It's funny.
Yeah, and it was just like, I don't know what I was doing with this guitar, but it was something that was growing through when I was sitting and playing this super simple melody, and I was like, what about if you start building it and doing this and that and that? So I just putting one harmony and then the next harmony and next. I don't know. Maybe there's 8 on 10 acoustic guitars on that intro at the end. Mm-hmm. Just small touches of a new step for every time this pattern is going, you know, just to build up something.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, and also the song, when we do like 2-beat songs, like the we always keep it like in a certain tempo, more groovy certain tempo. But this time I wanted to pull it up a little bit more to, I don't know how to explain it, but so it passes the groove and becomes this really more into the typical death metal 2 beats, you know, the newer ones,
more
not
aggressive.
the old stuff, you know.
Sure.
So, and also inside there, I put horns on there and a lot of weird stuff, you know. First you go out with a bang and then you come down in the middle of the song, you know, to get it more epic, and then back again, you know.
Right.
And it's the only guitar solo on the whole album.
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't notice that. I did notice some
and
other
it's
little things.
this long, you know.
Right. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But
Nice.
I'm not a guitarist, so that's the thing. You know, if you have something to show off, I don't mind at all. I mean, I love good guitarists. You know, I come from Yngwie Malmsteen, Steve Vai,
Right.
Joe Satriani and shit like that, but I would never sit down and practice that shit. Never.
Well, like you
It's
said,
not in
you're
my
a
interest.
songwriter. Yeah. So you're thinking of
Yeah.
melodies rather than trying to shred something.
Yeah. And so therefore I can't shred. So, and I don't mind. I don't mind because there's so many good guitars out there that blows your mind, you know.
And there always
And
will
I-
be.
Yeah, and you know, I tip the hat to all these people.
Yeah. Yeah, why
For sure.
compete? Yeah, exactly. All right, well, we should move through, Chemical Horror, obviously the first single,
Yeah.
and I think very representative of, I think, what Hypocrisy fans would come to expect. It has, again, epic moments, and, it reminded me a little bit of Iris. Some people said self-titled, so I think it's all in there. I think it encompasses Hypocrisy.
Yeah, this is a typical Hypocrisy song, whether we like it or we don't like it. It's just the way how things comes out when you write music, you know?
Right.
And it's cool. Michael contribute with one riff, Horg contribute with the intro riff, and
cool.
I think it's brilliant, you know?
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it was a great introduction to the new album for all the fans, for sure.
Yeah, we didn't want to scare people. We do that on the single that we released today,
Dead World.
Dead World.
I listened to that as well before. Well, I listened to
Did
it
you
like
see the
midnight
video?
last night. I haven't seen the video, no, but I listened to it last night,
Yeah.
and obviously again today. And didn't your son wrote that with you, right? Is that the one?
No, he actually wrote it by himself.
Oh, he
I
wrote
wrote
the
the
whole
lyrics,
thing.
he wrote the music. So
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna say,
actually
it's a little
from
different.
a project. Yeah, I guess it's a younger generation kind of feel to it.
Yeah. The intro riff reminds me of latter era Decapitated almost, kind of with that like bending up, like the
Yeah, could
reminds
be,
me of
could
that. Yeah. But then the
Yeah.
broken up, obviously verses and everything. It's definitely a little
Yeah.
different, but it's heavy as hell. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's fast
aggressive.
as fuck.
Yeah, aggressive. I figured, it was a great single to balance out, the first one and show people like, here's what you can expect. Maybe expect the unexpected with this new one.
Exactly.
Well, that's cool. I'd heard your son was a good drummer, and obviously he was playing guitar. But I didn't know that he wrote with you on End of Disclosure, and it was cool to find out that you still have that collaboration going.
Yeah.
That's got to be a trip.
I mean, he was 14 years old, I think, when he did that on Disclosure, End of Disclosure, he was just sitting and can hardly hit the strings with his pick because his technique is not there yet and things, but he was playing this stuff for me. I was like, holy shit, if you play it right, it's going to sound killer. So let's do a song.
Wow.
So that's how we spent on Soldier of Fortune, and that's how it came out.
And so with Dead World, did he just kind of present this on his own? What made you want to grab this?
No, actually, me and him in 2017, we had some free times, and we just started to do this father and son project. So we wrote 11 songs, actually. He wrote a few, I wrote a few. It was like 50-50 thing. And he jumped in and played drums on it, but we never came to putting vocals on or lyrics or anything like that. We kept it as a pre-production or a demo, you know, with 11 songs. So actually, That World was on there that he wrote, and I wrote, Which song was that ended up on Hypocrisy? Let me think here. Brotherhood of the Serpent, I think, was also on there.
Wow.
That I wrote. So I took these two songs, and that actually gave me a bloody tooth to start with Hypocrisy's album in 2018 then.
We're good. Did you hear that? Latency. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty wild. So are you going to do anything with those songs ever?
I don't know. We'll see.
Did you guys have a name for the project?
Nope. We had no clue. We were just writing music and spitting out ideas and just putting it all in. Just to do it together, you know,
That's
to write
awesome.
together, to record together, to think together, and seeing things and in the music way of. We're very close, I think, when it comes to liking styles and music and things like that. So that makes the whole thing much easier.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's really cool. You can have that relationship together.
Yeah.
Mike,
and he also wrote for Lindemann as well, you know, don't forget that.
Oh,
you know, he
wow.
did this Mathematik song for the last Lindemann album by himself.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
Doing his thing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we talked about Brotherhood of the Serpent now a little bit. I was talking about the production value. Just the way the intro starts and everything is just like, holy shit. I mean, it's big, man. You hear the power of, you know, that bass. It's very, so much separation, so much presence. Everything is like spot on, man. Love it.
Thank you.
And then Children of Grey. I think again more of a typical kind of Hypocrisy song. I noticed, this is something I noticed. I might not have noticed the solo, but I noticed the vocal change, and I think that's the only song where you do it pretty much the whole way through, the higher vocal. Yeah,
it's actually one of the last songs I put vocals on and wrote the lyrics for. It's actually the intro is actually Michael's riff. That's the second one he wrote on the album.
Oh, cool.
And I build the background of the music and stuff like that, and it has a really hypocrisy feeling to it, you know.
For sure.
And that's what I'm saying about when we all contribute with different things, you get the feeling, you know. And that's why I was always so disappointed when people don't contribute, because I know they have it and we need it to make it special, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So that song was one of the last ones, like I said, that I wrote lyrics and put vocals on there, you know. I love it as well. It's kind of commercialized with how I sing the chorus line, you know. It has a catchiness to it, without selling your soul. Put it that way. But, you know, when you sing and you do things, I like hooks, you know. I'm all about hooks, you know. If you don't have any hooks, who will remember anything?
Exactly. That's something we actually talk about here. Even with the old Deicide records, right? There's always hooks. Even death metal had hooks. Man. It's like the best hooks.
So many hooks.
So many.
I mean, yeah, and especially also with his vocals, you know, the punchlines of his lyrics, you know.
Yep.
You know, it's insane. I mean, I really love Glenn Benton for what he did, you know. Insane.
We do too.
That's all. Yeah.
If you ever are bored, watch our Glenn Benton interview. It's pretty hilarious. I think it's the most. I can imagine.
He's a funny guy.
Yo, he's hilarious, man. So funny.
We stopped by Morrisound. I remember when Hypocrisy was doing a few shows in America. We stopped by at Morrisound and they were doing Once Upon a Cross, I think, when we stepped in there. Or maybe it was the album after. No, I think it was Once Upon a Cross. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But, you know, he's always welcome with open arms. Like, yeah, come in. Hey, how are you doing? You know, it's always fun.
Yeah, he's a goofy guy. I think some people have these perceptions of him and just, you know, they just don't know him. And
people don't understand.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah. They have their own perception. It's like, hey, man, you're bothering this guy for a picture interview and he feels like shit. He's living on a fucking bus, so we've had those discussions with him, and it's just kind of funny to hear his perspective. Sometimes he's like, I feel like a stripper who's got to get up on the fucking stage and perform like a fucking monkey or something, so yeah, he has a really funny perspective. It's pretty enlightening and funny.
Yeah, imagine, I give you some good example. You're all dead, you wake up, there's nobody in the bus, you don't know where to go, you have no clue where you are, kind of. You step out of the bus and all suddenly there's like 10, 15, 20 people want to take a picture with you. Your eyes, you didn't even wake up yet, you have fucking sand in your eyes, and you're just going, please wait, give me a couple of minutes, I need coffee, blah, 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 But I guess he just go, fuck off.
Yeah, that's about
to be
right.
polite.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So I understand how he feels.
Oh, I'm sure everybody. Yeah, he's just got his own way of handling it, and hey, it is what it is, man. So
yeah, but I mean, all of us love our fans. Without our fans, we're nothing. So you have to see it in a different. Maybe you have to. Smooth out things sometimes.
Sure.
Sometimes I can't get away from people, and I just wake up and I need to take a morning shit or a morning piss, and you can't do it in the bus,
Right.
And you need to get the fuck out. So you tend to be snazzy against people, and you get shit for that. But it's circumstances.
Yeah, we're all human, man. We're all human. People got to remember, they don't know what you're going through. They don't, So hopefully people are open-minded and don't take things.
But
personally.
usually when I get my shit done, I go back out again. When I splash some water in my face and put on the glasses and go in with the hoodie and let's do it.
Hopefully you wash your hands before you splash your face. We don't need any.
You never know.
Pink eye.
Usually I just pee in my face and then I'm awake.
Okay, so we are at Another Day, which is a pretty blazing track as well. Yeah.
For me, this is one of the weaker ones.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to make it. But on the other hand, record companies like, hey, you need to save something for bonus tracks and stuff. And I was thinking, okay, that's the first one who's going as a bonus track. And then after a while, I was like, fuck this, we've been away for 8 years. There's not going to be any bonus track. Give him everything right now, right away. And that's how he went.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, it's funny. I was like writing notes. I prepared the sheet. I try to be prepared for this stuff. And I had to pencil in the song titles because I didn't have them all written down. And I realized I skipped that song. But that's also the one I can't remember from listening to everything this morning. So maybe you had something there. I'll have to go back and refresh myself, but I don't have a note on that song. So I don't know what that means, but maybe you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of the least powerful song. It's a little weaker than the other ones.
Well, I will go back and make sure I digest it fully and see how I feel about it.
But I did interviews for 2 weeks now. And a lot of people pointing out that song that they really like it. So I really don't know what the hell is going on.
Well, it is heavy and fast. So, I could see people who want more aggressive hypocrisy to, maybe enjoy that song. So.
Yeah, I mean, I really love the riffs and everything. And when I wrote the lyrics and started singing on it, I couldn't get it the way I felt that I wanted it. If I mute the vocals on it, I really love the song. But just the play between the music and the vocals, I could never figure out the right way to sing it or the right pitch, or there's always something, that it doesn't tick for me, there's always songs like that on albums.
Sure.
It's impossible to be happy 100% with all of them. But this one was the one that I'm only 97% happy with.
Yeah, I understand, and I think people take for granted how important that play is. A lot of people just hey, let's write these riffs and just throw vocals on them. It's well, you're not really giving,
it doesn't work
giving
like
the song,
that, unfortunately,
the credence that it deserves. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work like that.
I don't know. Maybe I should have sang it in a different way or in a different pattern on top of the thing. But I tried all kinds of stuff and I could never really figure it out. Yeah. But in the end, I think it as good as it can get, unfortunately.
Right. Well, it is.
But I think, like I said, a lot of people like it.
It's all that matters.
Maybe it's only you and me.
Well, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said I didn't remember. I just remember it being fast.
Yeah, but that's the key. That's the key. You don't remember it, so it wasn't something that's stuck in your head.
This is true.
Yeah.
Whereas most Hypocrisy is memorable because there's so many melodies and the hooks on the choruses and that kind of thing. So there's always something to pull you. They're like, kind of click in your head. And that was that one that just didn't for me. So.
But also, this is another thing that I was talking about, the thrash, coming back to my feet are in the thrash from the mid-'80s,
Right.
It's got a good groove to it. I have no problem with that, but it's just like I just couldn't connect the vocals and the music. But maybe other people say, hey, what are you talking about? It's fucking great.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Sure. Everyone's got their own opinion, their own take on it, 100%.
Oh, yeah. Like we say in Sweden, your ass cheeks are like the taste, it's either that or that,
Yeah, I like that. We'll have to use that analogy.
Unfortunately, it doesn't sound good in English, but in Swedish, it sounds perfect.
All right. So then They Will Arrive is next, and I think it's another good example of, what people expect of Hypocrisy. It's got kind of all the elements that you would, I think, want in a Hypocrisy song.
Yeah. It's got a good roll with the double bass, and it's got a good groove. The kicks are going not super fast, but it's going in a good, decent tempo.
Right.
And you got a nice groove to it, and I really like the picking in it and everything.
Well, the hook
it has something.
Yeah, I like the hook in that one.
Yeah.
I know we're kind of killing the clock here, and there's at least one Patreon fan question we need to get to.
Hey, don't worry. I have nothing. You're the last one for today.
Oh, well, good. Then we're going to keep you all day. All night.
Yeah.
All night.
I need to pee soon.
Well, you tell me when.
Now.
We'll go. You should go.
Thank you. Bye.
Do you want to cut and start over? We skipped. We're Waking the Dead. We're the Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
Dude, that's like one of my favorite ones. You're right. That's one of my favorite ones.
Thank you.
From the initial listen, of course, I just listened to the whole way through, as an album should be listened to, by the way. Yeah. For all of us old timers, that's how we listen to records. We listen to them from front to back, and that's how a lot of them are supposed to be listened to from the creators. So anyway, that was one of my favorites.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
epic.
It's one of my favorites too, actually. It's how do I describe that song? It's very slow and heavy,
grandiose.
You can almost have the feeling of the self-titled album, maybe a little bit in this song.
Yes,
like Until the End or something like that.
Totally.
If you have to compare. Yeah, I really like that song as well. It's got a nice flow, and it's very epic. It takes you places if you close your eyes and listen to this song. That I like. I like my songs and productions to take you somewhere else.
Right.
Either with some reverb on the mix or whatever it is, the melodies or something. It's something to listen to and dream away.
Yeah, it's a perfect description, and this is what I love about Hypocrisy as a fan is I want you to kick my ass sometimes, but if it doesn't have those slower, epic, grandiose songs, like it's not a Hypocrisy record to me, and you fulfilled it in spades with We're the Walking Dead and Bug in the Net. Both of those to me are... I don't know, maybe I lean toward, maybe I've heard enough brutal shit in my life, I don't know, but for me, those are the ones that stand out as like, fuck man, this is the Hypocrisy I want in my, this is what I need in my day, or this is what moves me or whatever, yeah.
I think always our strongest element has been these slow epic songs.
Yeah.
That's what I think. This dreamy stuff that we've been doing, it's needed in these albums. I think people prefer the mid tempos and the slow tempo over the the fast songs. Maybe we don't know how to make fast songs. I don't know. but it seems like, you know, a lot of people prefer these kind of style.
But I think there's a catch there, right? I think if you only did that, you'd be like, fuck this, it's boring. You know, they throw it out.
It gets very boring.
Yeah.
I can never do that. I need everything.
Yes.
Know? It's the same thing when I drink. I want to drink everything. I don't stick with beers.
Obviously, you had wine, now
beer,
you're on beer.
I want vodka, I want wine, I want, you name it, man. So it's just the way I am. So I doubt we would ever do an album that's only slow songs or only mid-tempo songs, you know?
Well, I think that's the beauty of it. I think you give us, just like you've given us balance in your discography, I think you give us balance on records. And I think if there were any more than 2 or 4 of those epic, grandiose songs, like you said, it would just get watered down and they wouldn't be as impactful as they rest here.
Yeah. And I love fast songs, put it that way. You know, I need fast songs.
Well, you need them for live. I mean, you need, you know, you're a fan of them
I
anyway.
need them for myself.
Yeah,
I
for
write
yourself.
for myself, you know, and I hope that people like what I do. When I write things. But mainly I follow my heart. And I need fast songs as well. I need the 2-beat. I need the headbanging shit, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, you can headbang slowly with slow songs. That's not the problem. But I need the energy.
The aggression. Yeah, that's what we fell in love with, you know, in the first place as fans of this music.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about the lyrics? I'm not really a lyric guy, but
sure.
Bug in the Net, you know, as I was listening, again, I didn't have a lyric sheet with me. I don't know what it's about, but I heard, you know, in 1961, and I'm kind of trying to listen in as I'm driving in. So, if you want to explain a little bit about that, I think there's maybe an interesting story there.
Yeah. Bug in the Net is actually one of the first documented abduction cases in 1961 with Betty and Barney Hill. Oh. A mixed race couple in 1961. Wow. That was not easy for them, I can tell you. And they had a very unusual experience. And that's really what I'm writing about on this song. It's really from their mouth. I wrote the lyrics a little bit, plus my twist, of course. And Barney said, like, it feels like I'm a bug in the net. I can't get away. I'm fucked. Wow. Basically. So that was very strong for me. So I really needed to write something about it, to be honest.
Oh, producer.
Yeah, well, producer's going to get in there. Well, because I wanted to make sure, because you're doing such a shit job. Well, no, because it doesn't seem like anybody asks you, and I was just thinking it there, so rather than awkwardly write something on the dry erase board. Where did the alien, idea even come, though? Because, did that come with, like you were even saying earlier, kind of going with your gut and stuff? Did you have something inside you too, fuck, man, how is death metal? They're gonna want to be Satan and all that. Because when you're telling that story, it's the argument could be if somebody were to say that be about Satan and all that, it's well, this is a pretty dark, fucked up topic too. So how is that any less death metal or whatever the hell? So I don't know, it just was a very good point to
Thanks, producer.
That. Yeah, well, that's why I'm here. I produce shit.
Yeah, exactly. I would say if you would meet something that scared and pissed the shit out of your pants, that's pretty death metal, man.
100%.
Put it that way.
Yeah. I think of your Pain song, that video, the Shut Your Mouth video or whatever.
Yeah.
The alien in your refrigerator.
That's a nice looking alien.
Yeah.
You can live with that, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to explain. I have my visions of what I think, and I listen to a lot of people talking about abduction cases and how and where, and I'm sure 97% of all these people are just trying to make money or sell a book that they just wrote or whatever, Mm-hmm. But I think there are unique things that something really fucking happened. And that was really fucking terrifying and scary. I don't know if you're into reading books and stuff like that, you should read Communion with Whitley Strieberg.
Oh,
it's a pretty.
I've seen the movie. I think they're the movie.
Yeah,
version.
but the movie is so shitty.
Yeah,
It's retarded. Read the book, and I promise you, every night when you turn off the lights, you will check under your bed. You will check that all the windows and doors are locked.
It's on my list.
Yeah, it's a little terror kind of fetish I have.
Okay.
You know, it's like when you're so scared that you almost puke. You know, then you know something is fucked up.
Yeah, I can agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Communion. I used to be like deathly afraid of Fire in the Sky, that movie. Looking back now, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But when I was young, like that was like a terrifying movie to me. I'm like, I don't want to watch this shit. I can never watch it again. I didn't want to deal with it, but I can relate in that way for sure. I think we've all had, well, at least people that are open enough have had thoughts like this, that we're not alone, and maybe some experience or, and obviously it's coming out more and more that, they're admitting that there are some kind of extraterrestrials that exist. So
yeah, let's see about that.
Yeah.
The government will never ever fucking admit it.
Yeah.
That's why they call it UPAs now, or whatever they call it. It's not UFO anymore, because if they admit that UFOs are around, then they've been lying since the 40s.
Yeah.
So they rename it, and then it's easier to talk about it.
Yeah.
They're just fucked up in the head. And another thing, why should they even share that shit, when if they share that shit, they have to share the technology with you.
Right.
And what army would love to share their technology with other countries?
Sure.
I don't think anybody wants to do that. They want to be advanced from everybody else. They want to be on top. It doesn't matter which country it is.
Right.
But that's just the fact. And then if there is something out here or not, that's about to be seen. I don't know.
Yeah.
I will not tell you anything. I just tell you what I have in my mind and how I see things. That's how I write lyrics. I have no proof about anything or nothing. It's just my speculations of how things working. Just look at the chemical horror. Now people are like, oh, it's an anti-vax song.
Right.
Yeah, fuck you too. I wrote this in 2018. How can it be,
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, it's all about my thoughts. It's nothing else.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate
So
it.
we'll see if someone will crawl to the cross and say, yeah, they're here. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to admit that, especially not in governments and CIA, FBI, whatever, you name it. Nobody's going to tell you. Even if they stand on the front lawn going, hello, no, they're not here. They're going to deny everything. So it's all about technology. It's all about gaining favors to yourself.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know. I think we were planted here for 60,000 years ago. And we developed somehow as cave people. And then all suddenly, 200 years ago, all suddenly we advanced so fast. From 60,000 years means shit compared to the 200 years we are in now.
Right.
I believe someone altered our DNA to make us a little bit smarter, whoever planted us on this earth. Mm-hmm. And now they see, it's getting out of control. So maybe we'll see one day it just go black.
The great experiment, right?
Yeah.
I think about that too. I think my grandmother just passed away, was 93, and I was like, when she was born, they had like horse and buggy, man. So to echo the comment about advancement in the last 200 years, it's like insane. It's insane.
So how can it work?
Yeah.
I think it's 60,000 years for humans to be around. I'm not really
Something
good
like
on numbers and shit like that, but it's something like that, I think.
Yeah.
And how come nothing happens for 590 blah 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 1,000 years except 200 years ago, and then it goes woof.
Right. Yeah,
that's my thoughts, my way of thinking, that I think our DNA got altered. And now with all vaccines and stuff like that, that you shoot in AI in your body and things like that. So maybe we start waking up feeling gray and big eyes, one of these days. I don't know.
Feeling Gray, the next record.
Yeah, Feeling Gray. That's the right way. Like my hair,
Yeah, yeah.
I stopped coloring it. It doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, fuck
After
it, man.
2 weeks, you see a white thing in there.
Hey.
I'm happy to still have it there. So.
Yeah, let's be who we are,
Yeah,
That's what I
don't
say.
give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck either. I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate your unique take on death metal, and someone had to do it, right? Why not you? Why not you be the alien guy? I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just my theories and my thoughts. Everything is poetry.
Well, it's far more interesting. It's far more interesting.
But the problem is, if
shit.
I'm right, we're fucked.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. I hope you're not right.
I hope too.
Last song. Gods of the Underground.
Yeah.
Tell us
That's
about
about
that.
civilization that lives inside the earth, because the earth is filled with like honeycombs, like a bee nest, There's a lot of space inside. Trust me. If you know how big the earth is and just start drilling a couple of miles in, you're still far away from the core, and maybe something happened a long time ago that everybody had to get inside the earth to save their asses. It could be a comet, meteor, or whatever hitting the earth. So people go in shelters, and maybe they liked it so much, so they stay there for thousands of years. So maybe what we see today is actually this civilization that's not coming out from space, but they actually come from inside the earth. There's a lot of theories about Antarctica and things like that down there, that there's big cavern of spaces where different civilizations lived in. I don't buy all of that stuff, but, I think it's a very interesting idea, when you start spinning about the idea.
Yeah, 100%. And then musically, where were you coming from on this one?
I think that's... The intro is actually... the intro riff is... the melody is Horg who wrote that one, actually. Cool. Which I like. It's bombastic. It's kind of this feeling of an immortal kind of feeling, I would say. And he had that, and I just kept on building on that one. So it's just like always, it's a little puzzle of different elements and different riffing, and you put the one next to the other one and next to the other one, and you listen, maybe change this and change that and so on. And it was also one of the last one that got completed for the album as well. So the vocals is a little bit different on that one as well,
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's a good ending song on the album for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid closer. I think it summed up everything really nicely, and I think...
Yeah. And it leaves you with your pants down going like, now what?
Now what? Yeah, right. Another 8 years.
Yeah.
You're the new Metallica.
No, I hope not. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't really want to speculate. Maybe this is the last one, or maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see what the mood is in. We're not getting younger, put it that way.
I hear that. Well, we do have a what we consider our diehards Patreon question. And what is that question, producer? Why don't you just ask it? You get on the mic.
Oh, shit. So today's comes from Matt Besnard. He wants not a specific question, but if the conversation goes that way, and it did not, could he share? Focused. Could Peter share any stories from producing Monotheist with Celtic Frost or Celtic Frost? There's a question for you. Do you say Celtic or Celtic?
Exactly. I was going to say, do we say Celtic or Celtic? Because I always said Celtic, until I started working with them, and they say Celtic.
Well, then it's
the
official.
guys in the band.
Well, that's official.
I had to change like 20 years of thinking wrong, I guess. It was a really hard production, a really hard recording session, and they were on the edge because it was a comeback. And I was on the edge because I didn't know what I was getting into. You know, I loved Celtic Frost since the first mini album they released. I loved them since Hellhammer time. So for me, it was really a tense moment because I didn't know what they expected from me. I didn't know what to expect from them. And they had a lot of songs and they did a lot of pre-productions. And there was a lot of things I didn't agree on in way of singing and songs in there. And it was a little tense at the time because I'm a very honest guy. I say right away, I don't like this. I don't like that, you know. And sometimes people can't take credit, so it just kind of stopped. And there was a few times of that. You know, it was very intense. They had a lot of pressure for a comeback album, you know, to really show they know what the fuck is going on. So, and also for me, I had that feeling all the time. Also, I have a lot of pressure to not make the band look like shit or sound like shit or anything. So, yeah, we were under a lot of pressure, all of us. I think it was the most intense album I ever recorded, to be honest. Now I need some snooze.
Do it. You do the loose? You don't do the pack?
I do both.
Oh, okay.
Left, right, left, right, left, right. So it was a hell of a roller coaster for all of us when it comes to emotions. You know, it was really tough, but in the end, I think we all came out as winners.
It's amazing. It's an amazing record.
It's insane album, man. It's fucking insane.
You have a producer. You have a quick story on that, right? Like you talking about our old elitist guys that we grew up with, where you said you can only like this black metal, you can only like this death metal, and if it's anything else, it's shit. He had a story about, you know, he went up to one of those guys. You should just tell a quick story.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't. They were good enough. Anybody watching this channel knows my face. Yeah, well, that came out in 2005, right? Like, it sounds about right, right?
That's right.
No, it was made 2005 because my grandfather died at the same time and I got a divorce at the same time. So I think we recorded it in August 2005, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was, like, I don't know. I was really young. Like, I think I graduated high school that year. And so I'm just this fucking, you know, Morbid Tales, Megatherion, like that kind of Celtic Frost, just or anything, you know, like, what would we call it? That like, you know, the Teutonic, and then like, you know, and then Creator, Pleasure to Kill, Teutonic. So I'm not thinking anything, and then that comes out, and it's like more like, I guess, gothy, or at least that's what people were describing it at the time.
It's got like a big doomy, almost like you know, monolithic.
Well, I guess for me to say gothy, that was exactly what my density was,
right?
At least. Yeah. And so just so then one of these, you know, the older generation that we're talking about, just he said it was his favorite Celtic Frost, and I commented of wow, like that. I didn't think that was going to be what you said. And apparently that was just such an insulting remark that, like, I hadn't seen him in like 2 years, and I'm taking a fucking piss of all things at a show, and he's like, dude, I've been ragging on you about that for years. I'm like, oh, had no idea. Let me buy you a beer. Like, dude, if this is the way it's always going to end, like, you could do that all the time. I'm going to get a fucking free beer every so I don't know if that was your compelling story.
Well, yeah, but it goes to show, like, that record definitely affected. I mean, people took notice, whether it's the old school guy or the, you know.
It was a big thing. It even crawled up to the big boys, you know, in this genre, you know. Yeah. And he got noticed by everybody.
For sure.
I remember reading, like, Dave Grohl was like, wow, Celtic Frost is back and things like that. Other big famous names were totally stunned by it, you know. I was just worried about some songs that shouldn't have been in there. And I said it when we were doing it, and we really were arguing, fighting about it. And for me, some songs was not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And but all the other songs are fucking insane. All the sounds you hear in stops and things like that, it's epic. You know,
Huge.
It's insane all the way. They knew what they were doing. You know, I don't know what I was doing there actually. You know, they really had a clear vision on what they wanted to do.
Well, you did something right, because that's probably one of your top, production jobs, at least in my eyes. I mean, it sounds incredible and massive.
Yeah, it's very dark and epic fucking album, and that's pretty much how Martin and Tom was. They have their dark side, and that's how it came out to be such a fantastic album.
Yeah. Well, since you said it, I'm going to hold you to it. But I have some, of my own nerdery questions for you. Since it is Friday night and you got your snooze, you had your wine, you got your beer. So I want to talk about...
Now I just need some grass. Wait. Whatever.
I want to talk about, it's hard to talk about all this stuff and then not talk about you as a producer, because I would say, and me and the producer talked about this maybe a couple of days ago preparing for this, but okay, if you look at the lineage of Swedish producers, right? You got Thomas Skogsberg, right? That was the Entomb thing, huge. Everyone sounds this way. He's the guy.
Yeah.
Then I would say Swano. I put Swano right in there. He's the guy. Everyone wants to go to Unisound. Everyone wants to work with Swano. But then you became the guy. And everyone went to you. And your credits speak for themselves with 200 plus, almost 300 records, something like that. So how does that feel? I mean, the lineage of these Swedish, as a countryman.
I don't know. It's just a trend like anything else, Today is like short shorts. Tomorrow is long shorts.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever. No, but I'm glad to be a part of it. And I tell you, frankly, Dan Svano, he sent over a lot of bands to me because he couldn't handle it anymore. He didn't want to do it. He sent over a Dark Funeral. He said, I can't deal with this anymore.
Wow.
Please take these guys. I can't deal with it. And I'm like, okay. So I recorded the first Dark Funeral, Secret of the Black Heart.
Fantastic.
And then eventually he's like, hey, man, you're so fast how you do things, and it sounds really good. And I'm coming with the Edge of Sanity to record with you. I had enough of recording. So I'll leave this to you. We come in as musicians. Don't think it's me as an old producer. Do your shit, and we're done.
Wow.
So that's how I became to record his own band. He trusted me enough to leave it to me.
That's wild.
Which was an honor, because I looked up to him a lot. And during the years in the 90s, he started working in a music store. So he was always keen on what was good stuff for the studio and not. So we always were talking, and he was telling me these stuff and this and that. This is a good thing and this. And most of the shit I really loved when I got it. It was wow, this is fucking good stuff,
Yeah.
So he helped me a lot to get the right equipment as well, So he's a part of it as well, even though he had his own studio. So he's a part of my way of extending and getting better because of, technical tools that I had no clue about.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I mean, Swano is such a good guy and such a character.
Oh, he's great. And what a fucking musician, man.
Oh,
he's one of the best musicians in the world.
Playing a guitar, right-handed guitar backward. I mean, insane, man. Insane.
Yeah, not only that, it's just like the music he writes, he's more into the Rush kind of stuff, the progressive stuff. Yep. And he does it so fucking good. Dude, it's insane, and his brother as well with Nightingale and shit. Oh,
yeah. Dude, that Moon Tower record. Yeah, tip of the hat to Swano for sure. We had like a 2+ hour episode. It's one of our most popular episodes with Swano. And we had known Dan just from, some other things we worked on with him and stuff. But it was cool to just chat with him. And we have to do a part 2 because I think we could probably do another 2 hours with him. That's how fun it was to hang with him and talk to him. But such a good dude. His vocals, I mean, fuck.
Yeah, really good growls, really good clean
drummer
sound, vocals, and he's the one who actually, I think, in my world, he started to mix the clean vocals with growls.
Yes.
He was one of the first one, maybe the first one. I don't know.
Well, no, I think he told me that Opeth influenced him.
Okay. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really into this progressive stuff, you know, so
Yeah.
this is not my area. And like I said, I admire people that are skilled on their instrument and writing and everything like that, but it's not for me to do.
Sure. All right. Well, looking into your history, so I was kind of. Oh, here's a great question for you that I want to know. Whether this makes the cut or not. This is one of my questions.
I don't know. That's my answer.
Okay. Yeah, bonus. This is bonus material. Because of your age and the time you grew up and you were such an instrumental part of it, I'm just curious to know what the Swedish black metal beginning was like, because obviously everyone knows the Norwegian story and blah, blah, blah and all that. But you not only helped produce a lot of these bands, but you were there to watch it happen and watch it form. With bands like Marduk and stuff. So, and Abruptum, Abruptum, oh my God. That first record to me is like one of the scariest sounding things ever. But
the thing is, you got to remember, it didn't start there. It started in the mid 80s with Bathory. You know,
Right.
He is the fucking man.
Yeah.
And he did it all by himself with a drum machine on the later albums. In the beginning, it was Jonas Åkerfeldt, the guy who was doing videos and stuff, playing drums for him.
Right.
And so he started the whole shit, put it that way, in this extreme black metal. You already had black metal when it comes to Venom and other things like that, but it was a little bit more primitive and slower. He took it to the extreme.
Yeah. So how was that? Like, first hearing Bathory and being exposed to that, what was that like for you? How old were you at that time?
I don't know. I can't remember when the first album came out. You have to help me there. But I think it was like 15, 16 or 17 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, when he came out with the first Bathory album. I really like Under the Sign of the Black Mark. That's one of my favorite. Because then he also started, mix the slow, heavy stuff with fast shit,
84, by the way.
84, thank you very much. Yeah, you see, I was 14.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah. What was the first record you heard? Was it Under the Black Mark, or was it?
No, I think it was the one with the yellow goat on. The first album.
Self-titled.
It's called Bathory, I think.
Yeah, self-titled, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first one. Lars Söke, our drummer, he was a huge fan of that. Before we even met, me and him, he always played that shit afterwards, and he was the one who got me into a lot of more underground shit.
Now, how were you exposed to some of the bands to come after that? So when we do talk about some of these other Swedish guys, like Marduk's the prime example, I guess, because they were so early on with that, and their first stuff. But
I recorded. That was the same thing with Svanu. He recorded the three first albums.
Right.
And then both him and them said like, okay, we got to a point where it doesn't work anymore, because they were kind of neighbors. They live in the same area, and so I don't know if it was Svanu who recommended Marduk to go to me, or if somehow we got connected again, because I remember when Marduk released first or second album, they did something in their town, and us and the Dissection was actually opening up for them in their hometown,
Okay.
So I think we got to know each other a little bit there before they came to the studio anyhow. So, but we had a great time. We had such a good time when we did Heaven Shall Burn, that I ended up being their session guitarist on tour, which was great for me, not to care about singing and not having this on my shoulder. It's my band. I just came as a hired gun. It was a great experience,
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I always saw you tied into, as a member of Marduk, and I was like, a member of Marduk. But yeah, I kind of did some research and saw that you did live for a year or something.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I think we did 2 tours, or did we do 1? I can't remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
But we had a great time. And this summer, actually, I met Moge and we were talking, and we were we played at the same festival because we managed to do 2 festivals this year at end of August, you know. And we're just talking, we need to hook up again, you know.
Yeah, that would be an amazing tour to come through. Definitely.
Yeah, no, but
great
I'm
one
just,
for us
as friends, you know, to hook up again because it's been a while.
Yeah, well, that's most important.
Yeah.
As I'm looking, so. Well, dude, look, I mean, I wrote all this shit down. Like, he did both the Allegiance records, 6 Amon Amarth, 5 Dark Funeral, 2 Dawn records. You know, he did Dawn. 3 Destruction albums. That had to be insane for you to work with Destruction, being a thrash fan and growing up with that shit.
Oh, yeah. That was something else.
You made it sound so good. Oh, those albums are fucking good.
At the time, people were complaining it was too much death metal sound. So I got my ass kicked for that. It was not thrashy enough.
I love those ones.
Yeah, I love them too. I really do.
Which ones are those?
What's All Hell Breaks Loose, one of them?
Yeah, that was the first one we did together.
One.
That was like the reunion thing. I don't know why everybody runs to me when they do reunions, but I guess I don't complain, put it that way, but it happened, you know, with them. It happened with the Celtic.
Yeah.
It happened with the Possessed. It happened with
Possessed.
A few more bands, you know.
You just did that Possessed not long ago.
Yeah, I went to LA and did it.
Yeah, I think I'm actually good friends with Dirk Verburen, and I want to say he stopped by one of the sessions or he hung out or something. I don't know, but he was telling me about it.
Yeah, Dirk. Actually, Hannah was doing the photos for the new Hypocrisy. So he was hanging. We were hanging together while we were doing a video. In 2019, and also she was taking care of all the photo sessions for the new album.
That makes sense.
And we did that 3 years ago.
That's so crazy. That was that long ago.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm really happy he's in Megadeth,
yeah,
and
such a
having
fit for
the
him.
time of his life. You know, he deserves everything. He's such a fucking crazy drummer, and he's such a cool guy.
Yeah, good person, just a good, genuine person.
He's great, you know. And his mom and dad is the one that turned him on to Hypocrisy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're big fans. So
how did that story go? I never heard that story.
I don't know. I think we did a tour together with Soilwork when he was playing with them. And I think he introduced me to his mom and dad, and he said they were really big fans of Hypocrisy. This was like 10 years ago or something like that. It was kind of fun.
Wow, that's funny.
The crazy thing was like we did this headline tour in April 19, and of course Dirk had to be in the pit. I don't know why he went into the pit, but he fucked up his knees so fucking bad. I was gonna say,
man,
he was
not made for
sticking
that.
out the wrong way. Put it that way.
Wow.
And after we walked off the stage and he was sitting in the car ready to go to the hospital, I was like, what the fuck were you doing in the pit? And he's like, I love metal, you know?
Yeah, he definitely does love some metal, that's for sure. Yeah, a lot of people don't know, like, his favorite band's Napalm Death and Terrorizer. Yeah. And he's like, dude, if I could just play grind all day, every day, if it paid the bills, that's what he would do, you know? So, but actually, I do think he's a great fit for Megadeth because while Nick Menza and those guys are all good, I think Gar Samuelson has that like groove, that like a swing to his playing, and Dirk has that natural swing, you know? Oh,
Dirk has the swing up the Yahoo, man.
Yeah, big time.
He really do. You could hear that on
that shit,
already, you know? on his other album, his other band before.
Scarf.
What's their name? Yeah, Scarf.
So good.
It's insane, man. It's insane. You know, it's beyond. That's why they never got big, because us normal people don't understand it.
That's true. I first heard Dirk's playing on Aborted, that Gormageddon record, you know. Such a breakout record for Aborted, and I had been a fan. And it's funny, later down the line, I ended up, you know how this music industry is, it's so incestuous, and you meet all these people and you're interacting, and then now you're in a band with them, you know. So I ended up being in a project with Sven and all them, and it turned out to be he was kind of revamping Aborted at the time, so I actually have some Aborted writing credits with Aborted on this EP. And I told Sven, because Sven's actually like, he's very like you. He's very open. Sven likes a lot of different music, right? And he listens to a lot of, you like love Slipknot and Chimera and stuff that we'd make fun of him for, and in good humor. And I told him, I was like, Dirk was actually living in Cleveland at the time because he's with Hannah, who's from Cleveland.
Yeah.
And me and Dirk would always catch up on, when I'd come off the road, he was coming off the road, we'd go get coffee. I would teach, or actually, he would teach my students drum lessons. When I'd be gone, I would teach his students drum lessons. We just always do this kind of thing. And I told Sven, why don't we get Dirk to fucking play on Aborted and resurrect fucking Aborted? Because at the time, they had these kind of like stuff, I don't know, stalling out records where some songs would be amazing and some would be eh. And maybe it was just the writers he had around at the time. But I'd like to say I was a part in resurrecting that with Dirk. So I got to be on a record with Dirk is the point, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, but Dirk is the man is the point of this whole sidebar.
Exactly. He's the fucking man, man. He's a hell of a monster drummer. He can play anything you want.
Yeah. He's like a Gene Hoglan.
Jukebox. Put in a coin and click on whatever kind of music style you want. He will play it for you. It doesn't matter.
This is true. And I guess this is something I didn't get to ask you. Being a drummer, being that you're a drummer, I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
I always like to ask them, I guess, who is your favorite drummer or drummers to listen to? You could be as specific as you want. If you have this is my favorite rock guy. If I'm listening to metal, this is the guy. Whatever you want to say on that. I'm just curious to always hear who your favorites are, but then who is your favorite to play with? So it would be interesting to hear.
That's the problem. I don't play with nobody. No, Buddy Rich, man. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put it there. You want some speed? Listen to that guy,
Insane.
man. He can fucking blast. Of course, if you listen to Ian Pace, listen what he does on Burn album. It's like Lombardo.
I love it.
He's just going fucking rolls constantly, and this is 74. You know, and of course I love Lombardo as well. He's one of the greatest one. Neil Peart, who doesn't like him?
Mm-hmm.
He's insane, or he was insane.
Yeah,
and. There's so many fucking drummers, man. That's so fucking great. And today, it seems like, as soon as they start walking, they know how to play drums. So I don't know. Mainly, Neil Peart and Ian Pace and Lombardo
those are the guys.
70s, 80s shit,
Yeah.
And don't forget Lars Ulrich, no matter how you feel, how he plays nowadays, he has these weird accents. He never hit a cymbal on one.
Exactly.
That's got to be impossible for him. He likes to do it on two, but that's his thing.
He does it with the snare.
And it gives him his style. But there's so many good drummers.
Yeah.
It's impossible to say who's the best. And
of course.
Who I was influenced by in the 70s and 80s, it was whoever was playing the fastest,
Yeah, well, that's what they still do today. I feel like many kids feel the same way. Gene Hoglan was my guy for a long time. And I feel like Dirk is like him, and
really good
Barker's
as well.
like
he's
him.
Very solid.
Yeah.
And with that guy, I don't think you need any triggers or anything. I remember me and Phil from Malevolent Creation was down at the Cameo
a character. He's a character,
in
by the
Miami
way.
in 88 or 89.
Uh-huh.
And I think Cynic was opening up for Dark Angel. And we were sitting actually on the drum riser behind Gene when he was playing, and it just blew my mind. It was like, holy fucking shit,
out of control.
It was insane, And
that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was before I was born.
When you got Sean Reinert that night too, it sounded like. So you got the double whammy. Yeah. That guy's out of control as well. Phil from Malevolent. That's he's a unique personality. That guy. I toured with him.
a long way, man.
Yeah.
Me and him.
He was my first.
A lot of fun.
My first major tour was with Malevolent, and he treated me amazing. And he's a very he's a character. He's hilarious. He's a funny guy, and very unique personality.
Pure Italian freak, man.
Yeah.
Trust me.
He
He's
is.
the coolest. His brother is fucking cool as well.
I never met his brother.
Yeah, Danny, really cool guy. I haven't seen him for, I don't know, a long time. Too long, put it that way.
Yeah.
So I need to reconnect with the Florida guys that I used to hang out with when I lived there. So, yeah, I miss those guys. I miss those times, you know.
I would say, and what was the impetus for going to Florida at that time?
My girlfriend at the time, she got like a job as an au pair. You know, I guess her mom and dad's neighbor had a daughter who got married and kind of was in their rich bitch kind of thing, and they needed a au pair, so they asked her, and she said, "I'll go if I can bring my boyfriend." And that was a big mistake because she left after 1 year and I stayed for 3. So,
wow.
You know, that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And I went straight into this death metal scene somehow. I don't know how and why. I just smelled myself into it.
Where were you living? Were you living in Miami or are you living up north?
No, Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay.
Actually, first year I was living in Boca Raton.
Okay.
There's more fancy Nancy kind of place. And then I kind of got a roommate and I moved to Hollandale, I think, or if it was Hollywood.
Well, there's Hollywood.
I
Florida,
can't remember. But it was in the Fort Lauderdale area.
Okay.
Put it that way.
And what year was that?
I lived there from 88 to 91.
Wow. So you were there prime time.
Fuck yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was on the release party of the first Deicide album together with Phil and another mutual friend of ours called Bruce Ercolino.
Shit.
It blew me away.
That was when they were all dressing up still in the pig's blood, and did they have like they had like Marys filled with blood and shit.
I remember they rented this fucking limo, like this 70s kind of limo where we jumped in, and of course they were sitting there smoking grass. It was just like, the Predator second movie, when all these Ganyo men roll down the window. It's just like a fog of shit. And that was before the show,
Yeah.
And I wasn't used to smoke grass at that time, but I took a couple of puffs and then watching the show. Holy shit, man. I thought I was fucking in hell. It was the best fucking experience I ever had.
Really? Wow, that's crazy. We actually did an interview with Scott Burns. I don't know how many people could say that, but we did a nice long one like this with Burns, and he was saying, he used to do live sound before he did the studio stuff, and he did some shows for Deicide. He might have done that one, and he was getting yelled at by Glenn
I don't know,
for
maybe.
fucking up, but
it was the release of the first fucking album,
Yeah.
So I don't know who was where and what.
I just, that's fucking hilarious with the Predator things. That was exactly what I was thinking of that right, as you said that.
It was, man. It was
That's
like
hilarious.
a fucking movie.
Yeah, I just see Danny Glover. You better cut down.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, I appreciate it, man. We kept you forever, so I appreciate
Don't
all the
worry,
time.
man.
Let you get,
I hope I did something good.
dude. This is more than fantastic. You were one of the best. I've been a big fan. Like I said, I got to meet you in 2002. You were very, very pleasant to meet at the time. You weren't pissed off or anything. So,
What was I sober?
no, I don't think you were sober. You were actually. You were actually walking. You were walking around. We got there early because we were opening up, so we were there like for sound check and stuff. But you had been walking around the area, and it was like, in the Cleveland club you played was like the hood, man. It was like there's nothing to go to. There's nowhere to go.
That big fucking.
The Agora.
Thank you.
Yeah. But there's nothing there. There's nothing around, but it's fucking hood as fuck everywhere. And
it's not a pleasant one.
No.
But you got to take your chances sometimes.
You were wearing your big like hockey jersey thing and walking around with some guys, and I think you circled around with there's fucking nothing to do here, and came back in the club, and yeah. So
that was it.
Yeah, that was it. But I think my girlfriend, maybe my guitar player's girlfriend, they all like were in love with you because you have that Johnny Depp-ish like Steve Buscemi mix or whatever. But yeah, the girls, I just remember the girls going, "Oh my god!" And we're like, "Yeah, it's cool. We love Peter too." But